You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Yes, the Oilers are facing elimination in the Stanley Cup for a second straight year, but this time around, we only have to win 2 straight instead of 4. It's easy. It's literally going to be half as easy. Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday. We are live from the Sports Closet studio, and as always, a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. YouTube chat for our friends at Odd Company Brewing and the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager, a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, but for every day. Tyler, Liam, the YouTube chat, a deadly trio. Aaron's around as well. Hey, the Edmonton Oilers, Liam, are down 3-2 in the Stanley Cup Final.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Damn it.
That sucks.
Well, what are they supposed to do? Come out and play well on home ice?
Yeah.
God damn it.
I mean, to be fair, they actually did come out and play pretty well. It was everything after the first 2 minutes of the game that I had a little bit of problem with. But anyways, a very, very disappointing weekend. A night on Saturday that really had the potential to probably be one of the better nights in our memory as Oilers fandom, right?
Yeah.
Was a Saturday night with an opportunity to take a 3-2 series lead in the Stanley Cup Final and go down to Florida with a cup in the building and you having a chance to win it. Would have guaranteed either a Stanley Cup or a Game 7 back in Edmonton. And listen, I don't view that, and we'll go through the game and we'll give our full thoughts. We're also going to be joined by Louis DeBrusk and Mike Commito as our 2 guests today on the show. But I have a hard time viewing that as the, big, bad, scary Panthers laid a beating on the Edmonton Oilers and showed them that this Panthers team is, experienced and this, that, whatever words you want to use. I looked at that and just went, this Edmonton Oilers team somehow no-showed Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final on Saturday night on home ice.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I'm with you. I don't think Florida were the better team, obviously, because the Oilers played so terribly, but throughout this series so far, it has been obviously a push from Florida, which has forced some errors throughout. But when the Oilers have lost, they have been, my goodness, horrendous. Minus Game 2, where it was a pretty even game, I think you could say. But
even then, they needed to score late to even force OT there, right?
Absolutely. But the other two, and especially on Saturday, it's just like, how are you failing to show up? I was talking to my dad about it. It's like, you can almost let one game slide in a cup final.
Yep.
If something, it's going to happen. Whatever.
Absolutely.
But to let 2 happen in the space of the same week is unacceptable. But here we are.
McDiesel, nothing to dissect. No, there is. It was painful watching them from Isaac. Absolutely. Painful again, shooter. Yep. Yeah, it was bad. Jeff Skinner Saturday night would have been the best night. Yeah, just, again, it sucks, man. 6 o'clock start, downtown Edmonton. I mean, AB, you were out at Greta. If the Oilers would have won that hockey game, it would have been historic.
We were ready to go. Now, I can still say, win or lose, we still hit the booze. Jeff Skinner was there on Saturday. Will not reveal identities. But, dude, it was disappointing, I tell you.
I was at a wedding on Saturday, and this wedding literally rented a projector so that we could all watch the game over dinner. And eventually it just got turned off because it was so bad.
Yeah.
It's like, God.
This is supposed to be a happy day. This is supposed to be a happy day.
Did you turn it back on when McDavid made it 3-1?
Eventually it came back on in the third period, but then it went down again late with just under 2 minutes left after Perry scored.
Yeah.
And there was this frantic, we have to get it back on. It's just nah, do we? Do we have to get this back up and rolling?
All right, I'm going to keep cruising. I want a few more of your takes in the YouTube chat. Why is Brad Marchand taking our oil lunch money? Yeah, man, he's been unbelievable. We'll talk. That's one of the things we're going to touch on with Mike Commito, actually. It's where does Brad Marchand rank in the pantheon of all-time trade deadline ads? Because it's very high. And listen, if you want to do a little domino pushes and falls to the big domino, if the Boston Bruins don't suck ass this year,
yeah,
are the Oilers already Stanley Cup champions?
You're right.
Because that wasn't one of those where like Marchand gets acquired a week before the deadline, and like if they didn't get Marchand, they were just going to get someone else. Like, no. That was last second. Oh, Matthew Tkachuk's hurt, and the Florida Panthers think there's a chance that Ekblad's getting suspended for PEDs, so we're going to have enough cap space so we can make this trade.
There's a lot of domino effects to it as well, because they were okay going into the Four Nations, right? And after they completely fell apart.
Yeah.
So you think of like Charlie McAvoy getting injured as well, like a bunch of things. Just crazy outcome. Then we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Trent Frederick extension either.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That is also, another part of it. Marchand this, Marchand that, who cares? The Oilers aren't doing anything to shut him down. I agree with that.
Agree.
And we'll go through the scoring summary here in a little bit as well. It sucked on Saturday. Loyal to the Oil was our first comment today. He said, hope will never die, ON fam. What happened?
I'm looking for the remote for the TV behind you.
It's right here.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Awesome.
Loyal to the Oil was our first comment today. He said, hope will never die, ON fam. The boys will drag him back to Alberta and lift the cup in Edmonton on Friday night. Let's go. I mean, that's the only, that's all we have to hope for, right? Is you have to win on Tuesday night. You got to bring Florida back, and you need to have a much better showing. You can't think that far ahead. It's just a matter of, I think for the Oilers, got to come out, get a lead. You don't want to be playing from behind again.
Because I think the only game they've had the lead is game 1, right? Which obviously they ended up winning.
Yeah, and even then they ended up trailing in the first period.
That's right, they did, because of the reviewed goal. Yeah, they really just need to find a way not to screw themselves over.
Time leading in the Stanley Cup Final. Florida, 200 minutes. Edmonton, 33. You're not going to win a series doing that. You need to, at some point, play a full hockey game. We'll talk more about what to expect and what we want to see in Game 6 in a little bit. But for now, let's just finish up our recap of that just Game 5 embarrassment. And let's do our scoring summary. It's brought to you by Krabby Goat Distillery. And it's not your average moonshine. It's sweet, smooth, dangerously sippable. It's handcrafted and flavor-packed with bold flavors like lemon meringue pie, sour fuzz and peach, cafe latte cream, I love that one, and orange creamsicle. I have a little Mickey of the orange creamsicle that's my birdie juice now when I go golfing. Krabby Goat takes moonshine out of the woods and onto your bar cart. Fun, cheeky, and totally different. This ain't the harsh stuff your uncle used to hide in the garage with the X's on the jug. It's small batch, it's premium crafted, and you can drink it how you like it. KrabbyGoat.com or ask for it at your local liquor store. Okay. First period of this game. Right out of the gates, Edmonton gets bang, 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 3 glorious scoring opportunities. You have first shift of the game. Connor Brown streaks in, fires one. Good save by Bob, a little bit right into the glove of Sergei Bobrovsky. That's not exactly what I would have liked to see from that scoring chance from Connor Brown. You would have liked to, I know we've been harping on the shoot it high thing, but Bob had that read the whole way. That actually probably is one of the times you want to try get a pass across or throwing off the pads to create some chaos. Anyways, Connor Brown doesn't score, but you're like, oh, damn. The Oilers got some zip here. They got some juice. And then you have the 2 looks from Connor McDavid. Neither one of them convert. He just misses whacking the one. The other one goes off the post and through Bobrovsky's legs. And it's like, how does that not hit the back of Bob's skate and go in or go off his pad or bounce? It's just, that one was unlucky. The other 2 were Edmonton not converting. I really felt like the one where McDavid just couldn't get it on the side of the net. It's like, man, I kind of want to see Connor bear down and finish that scoring chance off. But either way, Edmonton eventually goes down 1-0, and you're sitting there going, how do the Oilers have 3 premium scoring chances, and Florida, on what I kind of viewed as their first real good one, makes it 1-0. A playoff to face off where everyone's standing still. That face off being at center ice, if you want to call it a lucky bounce for Florida, sure, but Ekholm, flat-footed, brutal read by, that's Darnell Nurse who was on the ice with Ekholm for that one shift. And Calvin Pickard, it's a good shot from Brad Marchand, but I was all on board with Stu Skinner. Stu Skinner stops this one.
Yeah.
Calvin Pickard was way out, and he looked scrambly there, and there was no reason to be. There are very few spots Brad Marchand can go with that puck. He somehow beats Calvin Pickard. This is just I don't know. I don't know how you let him score that goal.
A problem I had with Pickett Stein, I don't think it was the wrong decision in the moment, but you got to think, think about it this way. Pickard can never reach the standard of Bobrovsky.
No.
Skinner has the ability to get closer.
Yeah.
And that's what the Oilers needed. This was a huge game, and Pickard won them that game the other night. Actually, I would Yes and no. I think the team just played a lot better. Like, you look at Skinner, and it wasn't even that bad. When you think about it, he faced 18 shots in the first period.
Yeah.
And he was easily their best player. And then you go with Pickard, and again, I don't think it was necessarily the wrong decision, but with that decision comes goals like this. And you want your players in front of you again to be better. Like, Ekholm cannot be like that. Like, you have to perform better, but...
Well, yeah, like
He
Matthias
protects
Ekholm,
the outside of the ice instead of the dead
Like,
middle.
what are you doing?
That's
Like,
like 6-year-old stuff.
force him to the outside, and
That's
he's not
crazy.
scoring a goal on you.
Yeah. You're way bigger than him, Matthias Ekholm. He plays a bit too soft sometimes, Ekholm, for me. And that
always
was
been
one
his
of
thing,
those.
yeah.
That was one of those moments. Be a bit harder on the puck.
It's 1-0. The shots at that point for Edmonton, they had 3. They don't register a shot on goal for the rest of the period.
Yeah.
This goal somehow just deflated the hell out of them. And the crowd wasn't even really out of it or anything like that. How this Oilers team just, I won't even say they had like a bad response. They had no response. There was nothing after this one. And it just felt inevitable that at some point Florida was going to score a goal and make this thing 2-0. And they did. Matt Tkachuk comes in, and you saw this one coming from almost a mile away. Florida off the rush. Edmonton with a bit of a sloppy line change. Shot blocked, and yeah, bang, right to Bennett. Can't really blame Pickard on this as much as I don't love the goal. That one is like, okay, it's, again, a shitty bounce, and it's hard to get your feet set and whatever. Ekholm, bad bounce, but again, you're now front and center for 2 goals against in the first 18 minutes of this hockey game, and it's like, man. So that one was deflating. The first one, the crowd was still kind of into it. That one killed you.
Yeah, I agree, though. A bit of an unfortunate bounce, but also, too, like
someone
Florida,
do something.
Florida is finding ways to be in the right spots more consistently than Edmonton are, and finding goal-scoring opportunities. And what's that now? Sam Bennett's 15th goal of the playoffs or something crazy like that. Like, they're just finding ways to kind of put the Edmonton Oilers in a bit of a vacuum, I guess you could say, and really pushing them out of their comfort zone. And this, again, bad bounce.
Nothing Wallman could do there. He's just blocking a shot and doing his job. Like, again, this is where it's guys who should be game breakers, and this is going to be a theme later, guys who should be game breakers aren't being game breakers right now. Matthias Ekholm should make a play on one of those 2 goals, right?
Especially
Connor McDavid should score on that scoring chance.
Didn't Draisaitl hit the crossbar too?
Yeah, he hit the post.
Yeah.
So it's 2-0. Oilers don't really get anything going in the second period, despite the fact that they got a power. Oh, sorry, they didn't get a power play in the second period. Yeah, no, just
it was only 2 Draisaitl.
Draisaitl. Right? Yeah, Draisaitl took that 1 penalty. Anyways, the Oilers had some chances, I felt like, to get themselves. So yeah, they had 2 power plays in the second period. Ekblad tripped Kane, and Reinhart took a delay game. And they hit a post on one of them, McDavid. I mean, even that power play in the first period where they didn't get a sniff, the one where McDavid rushed it up ice, he's 1-on-4, and he tries to take a wrist shot through traffic. It's like, dude, you never do that. Like, why are we even trying that? And then they get a shitty bounce at the stanchion. Second period, they get some looks. Corey Perry had one. He gets buried in front. It's like, man, I remember Evander Kane barely touching Gustav Forsling, and he gets called for a cross-check.
Yeah.
Corey Perry got buried in front twice on that power play. There was no call. Again, officiating, you can't blame it when you go 0 for 3 through 2 periods on your power play.
Same officials, too, from that game.
It's just like, man, also in the first period, Florida got away with so much interference. And it was clear that there's a mandate of like, hey, we don't want to call every penalty in the first period anymore.
Again.
Troy Stecher got drilled in his own end by Bennett.
Nowhere
Puck
close
was
to the puck.
nowhere near.
Ridiculous. The officiating was awful again. But the Oilers go 0 for 3 on the power play.
Yeah.
Again, game breakers need to break games this time of year. Power play had 2-3 chances to get them back in this hockey game, and they didn't do it. And you can sit there and be like, oh, you can't throw blame at Connor and Leon. And like, I get it that there are other problems. And like, you know, this team doesn't know who their starting goalie is going into Game 6 of the Cup Final. Like, yes, there is a long list of problems. Game 5, home ice, Stanley Cup Final, bear down and score on one of those 2 fucking chances.
Well, you look at the guys who scored for Florida as well. Marshawn Bennett and Sam Reinhart.
Game breakers.
Their guys are showing up. And
Yeah.
Sam Reinhart obviously got the game-tying goal as well in Game 4, like last minute of the game. And I know Draisaitl went on to score the game winner, and he should have. He's the player you need to step up. And McDavid eventually gets a goal, but it's just like a little too late. Like, you need these guys to show up earlier. That was McDavid's first goal of the Stanley Cup Final. Last season, he was the best player in the Cup Final, and it wasn't particularly close.
Yeah.
And you need him to find his next level, and now you have 2 games to play the best games of your life. basically.
Yeah, Brad Marchand makes it 3-0, 5 minutes and 12 seconds in. And this is the one where you're like, I mean, in the moment, it's like, all right, this is over. Bouchard, like, he's in a tough spot, but also you can't get walked that hard.
No.
That's the one that kills me. Like, especially Wallman, who's been so good at being physical, you just got to knock him down at that point. Bouchard, I hate that the camera goes to him because, again, he has two guys back there. Like, Bouch is covered. That's a good pinch to take if you're down 2-0 in the third period. You need a goal. The only thing I'm mad at Bouch for is just going halfway. He just had to actually lunge at that puck and try to get a piece of it. But this is more on shitburger pass by Jake Wallman, put that puck deep. And then the back check. Why are we stopping skating? Corey Perry, why aren't we skating?
Yeah. And
that's your guy. Evan Bouchard's 3 strides behind you. Perry's got to just go. Like, if Corey Perry skates hard on an actual back check, this is a non-conversation. Bouchard's flat-footed.
I think he's taken back by.
Me off.
I think he's just taken back by how poor the pass was. I think he expected that puck to come to him a lot quicker, and it obviously it didn't. It forces him to change a lot of things too. And well, for like Perry to stop skating, like this is a play like you're not that upset about someone taking a penalty on, because then you're like, okay, now we have 2 minutes to kill it and get a bit of redemption.
They
for what
should not
happened.
score
but
a goal
like
here.
Wallman, you make the shitty pass, and then you can't eliminate Brad Marchand from this play. Like this is again just a great example of what happened and of what this whole game was. Like, just really out of character.
And then, again, all this kind of stuff happens. Calvin Pickard probably needs to stop that.
Oh, yeah, another one.
Like, I know breakaways are kind of 50-50, but, like, the angle and everything here from Marchand, he's half tied up. You got to know if you're Pickard, he can't elevate that puck.
He's also not moving very quick.
No.
Like, that's an easy one to read. Like, you could even maybe give a quick poke check. If
Anything.
you really wanted to get a little crazy on it.
Pickard is, again, this is the 2 of the 3 goals where he's unnecessarily scrambling around. And sometimes you like that in Pickard, but like you can't go down like that and then lift up your pad and get beat 5-0. It's brutal.
Yeah, and I don't think like they obviously didn't get lit up. Like, well, I know the 4th goal was obviously a big backbreaker, and you probably, again, you need another save, but it's just like you need a stop. And people in the chat saying Skinner wouldn't stop that either. Skinner was stopping a lot of these opportunities. Like, you look back at game 2, and I know they allowed 5 in that game, and someone made the comment the other day, too. It's like, here's a 5 goals against average. It's like, so did Bobrovsky going into game 3.
Yeah.
Both goalies were doing the same thing. They were both making stops. They were both allowing goals that maybe you'd want back. But I think Skinner would have played a little bit better in this game. I really do.
Yeah. Again, I would have started Pickard, and my logic the whole time was, even if it flames out and doesn't work, which it didn't, you have the ability to be like, you know what, Stu, we gave you your breather again. Let's go. Win us 2. And that excites me, honestly, the fact that you have arrested Stuart Skinner now.
It kind of does, too, because I believe you said it the other day. If you don't go to Pickard in game 5, you're out of, and that happens to Skinner, you're kind of out of bullets. You're really relying on a guy who I know is undefeated, all that good
you
stuff.
You couldn't go to Pickard in game 6 down 3-2. You can go back to Skinner and feel relatively
And this
confident.
was the argument everyone made with Woodcroft and Campbell in against Vegas that one series. Now we've seen it in a way, I suppose. We know Skinner is the Oilers' best goalie. No matter what you all think, it is a truth, and you all know it. He needs to go out and he needs to give them 2 hell of a games. But also, this team needs to play any kind of hard defense. Yeah. And they'll probably win a game at least. If they get the chance to play 2, they'll win at least one of them.
So we'll rip through this because we're going to get out to our first guest of the day here. But McDavid gets his first of the Cup Final. It's 3-1. And as much as I sat there and was like, okay, there's like still 12 minutes to go. If you can get one by the 5-minute mark, you can see a path here to another miracle comeback. I believed a little bit when Connor scored this.
You have to.
Yeah, and then 40 seconds later, Sam Reinhart scores.
Yeah, that was not what you wanted to see in that moment, was it?
No, and this is just, again,
week on the boards.
This is just Florida eating their lunch. Yeah, the Oilers are weak on the boards. They throw it out, and again, it's not a goal that's atrocious. None of these goals were atrocious, but, like, you need a stop there. You need the momentum saver, right? Like, if you get a stop here, you go back the other way, like, who knows how this game turns out? And I know there's traffic, double screens, all that. You can't. Just this goal was the example that nothing is working. Yeah. Connor's on the ice. You have the Ekholm Bouchard on the ice. Like, your best players are on the ice here, and you get outworked, and then your goalie gives one up. Brutal. Reinhart 4-1. We don't even need to talk about it. Perry makes it 4-2. Who cares? Luster Reinhart adds the empty netter, and the Edmonton Oilers lose 5-2. And now their backs are against the wall again.
backs are against the wall. Arguably, the time when you see the best Oilers come out. When they have everything to lose, they seem to figure it out, which is very frustrating because they had an unbelievable opportunity to be up 2-0 this series and then even 3-2, and they blew it. They really blew it.
Remember earlier in the year when the Oilers were really down in the dumps and the chat was upset, and you and I understandably were finding it hard to find positives. And
feels like today.
Yeah, a little bit. We started having Louis DeBrusk on the show.
We did,
and the chat dubbed him our Oilers therapist. Well, goddamn, thankfully we have a therapy session booked for today. Let's get out to our first guest of the day. It's Louis DeBrusk, and he's brought to you by Litco Law. Litco Law plays for Team U. They're Alberta-rooted, Edmonton proud, and when it comes to fighting for everyday folks, they don't back down ever. When insurance companies play dirty, they drop the gloves. Contact Litco Law today. Stop in their office right here in town or visit them online, litcolaw.com. Lawyers you'll love, they do exist at Litco Law. As we bring in Louis DeBrusk. And Louis, again, it's a great day to have you on because you usually give us some positivity, but I just want to start by looking back at that Game 5 loss. And as I walked out of the arena on Saturday night, I just kept being like, how? How do you play that poorly in those circumstances? Saturday night, home ice, electric building, like how?
I agree. It was tough to watch, but I think what we saw was a tentative, nervous team. I really do. I think we saw a team that came out, understood the magnitude of the situation, and laid an egg, so to speak. And the Florida Panthers, if you look at what they did, they executed. And they've done it all series long, and they've done it for 3 years in a row. When they get an opportunity, when they get a chance in a big moment in the game, they're clutch. They really are a clutch team, and they have clutch players. I heard you talking about the Reinhart goal. That he scored a lot of goals like that. Just a nice pass into the slot. He gets it away quickly. He doesn't hold on to it. He picks a corner through a screen, and it finds the back of the net. And that was the dagger goal. When it was 3-1, there was some life. It was like, okay, this team's come from behind before, albeit too many times in the playoffs and in the regular season, down the stretch, in my opinion. But, for me, I think those nerves can really wreak havoc on your system. I think they can wreak havoc on your energy. They didn't look like they were the faster team in game number 5. Energy as far as winning battles, they weren't winning enough of those. And that's going to have to change for game number 6. So the way I look at it is you go out there and play your best game, like Liam said. That's the positive. The positive is there's still 2 more games potentially left in this series. Just go win the next one and push it to 7, and then everything changes in a Game 7 with home ice advantage this season as opposed to last season.
Mm-hmm. One thing for me that really would help them out is if they can just get the first goal of the game and stop having to chase games every single night, that'll probably be a positive for them. That would be my key to victory for Game 6, I guess you could say, Louis.
I agree. You know what? The chasing has started to take a toll, and the chasing against a team that's really good at closing it out, and a team that's really good at buckling down and making it difficult to find any chances. So I think that's part of the weight that I'm talking about on this team is that they're constantly having to dig in and say, oh, geez, here we go from behind. We saw in game number 3, they didn't muster up a comeback in that game. That was almost a game where they were so frustrated and done with it, they're like, okay, enough of this. They took their frustrations out a different way. I thought game number 5 wasn't quite like that, but when the 4-1 goal went in, it was over. It was done. You're like, yeah, this team, there's no chance they're coming back again against a Florida team that's already learned that lesson of not allowing this team to come back. But it was a start. I agree with you, Liam. I think their starts have to be better. I know that Chris Knobloch talked about it. When he had talked about his keys, it was the first thing that he said. We have to start capitalizing on some of these early chances because they have had some great early chances. And, when you look at the way this series started in game number 1, and Draisaitl scoring as fast as he scored in game number 1, and it set the tone, and they eventually won that game number 1, it was just, that was the feeling they have to get back. It can change really quickly. Right now, they're wondering what they have to do to score goals, especially in the first period. I believe it's 7-0. They've been outscored in the last 3 games. That's just not going to get it done in the Stanley Cup Final against a team that's there for the 3rd time in a row and won last year. It's not going to get it done. You can't keep chasing, so be the front runners. And they are great front runners when they want to be. When they get that lead and they want to go, they can close it down as well. They've done it through at the playoffs. Won't be as easy against this team, but I think what it'll do, Liam, is if they get that early goal or 2, it just gets them going, saying, okay, here we are. We're in uncharted territories. Now the Florida Panthers have to open up a little bit to try and find that offense. And in that transitional game, in the attempt to try and score, you might get another one on the transition or on a bad play by Florida. They might take a penalty. They're working a little bit hard. All those things come into consideration if you get the first one, if you're playing with the lead. When you're not playing with the lead, the key for me is, and it's not always going to happen, they might get scored on first, tomorrow night. But here's the thing. It's the way they're defending. You can't give up the next one. You have to really be stingy, and you have to do it the right way. I just think they're getting a little bit loose in some of the areas that they've gotten away with some loose play through at the playoffs. Right now, though, when they're loose, they get punished. They get punished bad. So tighten it up. Tighten it up, battle, get in the lanes, take your man, have a little more desperation, like I said before, to be that first man into the mix. Florida, pretty much all series long, with the exception, I would say, of maybe 4 periods, has been first to puck. They have just been relentless on getting the pucks first, and it's not just the first guy, it's the second guy, it's the third guy. A lot of their goals and chances come from, we're going to give up on the play here because we think it's going to be a 50-50 battle and it's going to be one. It's not one. Guess who's getting to the spot first? It's the Florida Panthers. It's the way they play. So just that little tweak in their mentality of, okay, look across from you. Look across from you in that line and say, that's my guy tonight. I'm playing him. That's who they choose. They want to play against us tonight. I'm going to be better than that guy. Simple as that. Go win a game. Bring it back for 7.
Yeah.
This next topic is like a tough one for me, I feel like, to find the right words for, because Connor McDavid is the best player on the planet. Connor McDavid has done more good for this team than any player in the last 20 years. But I can't help but walk out of Game 5 going, man, they maybe needed a little bit more from him. And I think you could even say the same about Game 4 when he only had the 1 point. In Game 3, he was held off the score sheet. And the bar is so high for a player like that. So I realize it's like a little unfair at times to criticize him when he still does have 7 points through 5 games in the series. But I feel like in Game 5, the game breakers just weren't the game breakers, and Connor McDavid is the biggest game breaker.
I felt the same way. I felt the same way through this series at times, and they are putting up points. Don't get me wrong; they still are putting up points. They've been important points in the 2 wins. Draisaitl, for that matter, the overtime winner from McDavid in Game 1, but I understand what you're saying. You almost want to see them create a little bit more. We're so used to seeing Connor, even if he's kind of struggling or maybe the puck isn't going in for him. Let's face it, he literally had to stick handle that puck in the net, which is a real positive. So you're looking for a positive. That broke, the dam, so to speak, for him. He kind of put one in the net and said, okay. But he's not that mega dangerous player. And I'll be honest, it starts with the power play. I know they created some looks, but it's really struggled too. It's had a hard time kind of scoring that goal at the appropriate time or getting into a role where you're really punishing an undisciplined play. And there was no power play goals in Game number 5 for the first time in the series. So you got to think that if those guys are rolling, the power play becomes exponentially better because they're snapping it around. The pressure of the Florida Panthers, in my opinion, the pressure and the way they play, has really taken a toll on the psyche of Edmonton. I know that the panel talked about, I believe, Kevin Kelly, and they were chatting about the fact that high pressure and that tempo that Florida plays with, it's almost a double clutch every time you get the puck. You're looking, going, where am I going, instead of just making the play that's there. And I think it's made Edmonton look slower, in my opinion. It slowed them down, and that's exactly what Florida wants. So here's the thing. If you have a mentality in your mind going into a game, and I'm sure this is going to be the discussion. Yes, you want to make plays, but early on, what do you want to do? You want to get your feet moving. Get your feet moving early. You have to be the faster team here. So you have to push as hard as you can go. It's 1 game in a 5-day stretch. With travel both ways, yes, I know that. But Florida looked like the fresher, faster team in Game 5. Edmonton needs to come out. It has to be designated spots you're putting the puck, and everybody needs to know it. That forecheck needs to be on, it needs to be aggressive, and no more hope passes. You can't just throw pucks, number 1, to the net with nobody in front, and number 2, cycle that puck. Hang on to it. Let that one-on-one defense in the defensive zone come and have to manually take you off the puck. You'll draw more penalties if you're moving your feet and you're making plays, and you'll spend more time in the offensive zone. That's what they have to do. They've done it before. They have the capability of doing it. But I agree, Ty. I think, we're always going to look to Draisaitl and McDavid in these situations. It's been for so long, they've been such a dominant pairing offensively for this team. We've talked a ton about the depth in the playoffs, but when the big boys come to play and they're all world, I mean, sorry, it's their game to go grab now. I think that if they're there, everybody follows suit. I know it's putting a lot on a couple guys' shoulders, but let's face it, they're the two best players in the game. It's time to show up and for everybody to follow that lead.
I think it seems inevitable that there's going to be some changes for Game 6. Is there anything you would change in particular? Maybe someone coming in?
Yeah. I mean, I've liked Kapanen in portions of this series because of his size and speed, and he's physical. So I would say along the same template that I'm talking about, a simplified attack. Get that puck in behind, get on the body, he can do that. And I would have a simplified approach in the direction that I'm telling the players to go here. You got to start somewhere. So the way you start, yes, I know they have to execute under pressure. They have to be clutch when they get their chances. They have to hit the net in the appropriate times and pick holes. But first and foremost for me, you got to get going north and south. You have to be the faster team. You have to get in. You have to spend more time there. It can't be one and done. Florida's loving this one and done stuff. And they are seemingly finding ways to spend more time in Edmonton's zone. Every game, it seems it's more time. I know that it seems worse than it is when you see the time in the offensive zone, but for me, they've dominated that. You talked about the wall. They've dominated that. Edmonton needs to man up here, and I think a guy like Kapanen can give you that size and speed in a simplified hard roll. He's come in and he's had real good responses since he's been out of the lineup. You're looking for maybe another one there if they decide to go that way. But, I mean, listen, it doesn't matter who it is in the lineup. I honestly think they have to look each other in the faces. They have to look in the mirror and they have to say, hey, there's possibly 2 games left this season. Do we want to go home tonight or do we want to go home in another 3 days potentially as Cup champions? Yeah. It's a real easy answer. It's an easy answer in your mind, so go get it done.
You go to Stu Skinner in Game 6?
I do. He's my call. He's who I would go with. I would go with your starter. He's had a break. Every time he's had a mental break and a physical break in a real hard series, he's responded well and responded well last year. So, yeah, I'm going back to my starter. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, to be honest with you guys, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, because he would have had, obviously, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, a 4-day break in between starts. I have
that's
no
a luxury.
comment.
That's a luxury to give your starting goaltender in the playoffs. I mean, the fact that they have both guys sitting at 7 wins, I don't know, guys. I look at that and I think that could be the decider. Bobrovsky has one off night in Game 6. One Nanu night where he doesn't stop the pucks. And listen, they've gotten 4 or more by him 3 times in the series already. So if they do that again and they pull off the win, who is the pressure on? It's probably on the champion. And it's on the goaltender that's played every game. That's my opinion. So Stuart Skinner's in a good spot right now if he gets the call. The team's in a good spot too. I know it's hard to look at this, but it's the Stanley Cup Final. It's a 7-game series for a reason. We say it all the time. Every single series, that's 2-2 goes to 3-2, somebody wins it. But it's not always the team that wins the 3-2 that wins the Stanley Cup. I'm sorry, it's not. It's 3-2. It's one game, and that's how they have to approach it. But like you said, Liam, it's time to bring your best game right now. There's nothing to save it for because you can't save it for anything.
And you could argue Game 1 I thought was good, but they still got up early and then the wheels fell off for both. But we probably haven't seen the true A+ level from the Oilers since Game 5 against Dallas. They've had good stretches, and I get that against a great team in the Florida Panthers, you're not really going to dominate for a full 60 minutes, but a lot of this has been self-induced for the Oilers. At some point, as much as I sound like the guy, once again, going up to the roulette table who sees 8 straight reds, and I'm just going, it's got to be black eventually. It doesn't work that way, I know, but at some point, the Oilers are just due to have that A+ level game that we just haven't seen in a bit.
It's incredible, but I think it's because of the way Florida plays. I really do. They do it to everybody. They do. They put a blanket on you. You have to give them credit. I'm sorry. I know everybody wants Edmonton to walk in as a different team and just roll over the Florida Panthers. It's not that easy to do. There's been a lot of teams that have tried. And this is a team that's gone up against some heavyweight, juggernaut teams, twice against my kid when he was in Boston. Absolute wars of series. They were not easy series. This is a team that's been built for this time of year. They really are. They're built for this time of year, and they're playing great hockey, and they're connected. Edmonton has to rattle their cage a little bit. They have to rattle their cage. And I don't mean that with dirty hits. I mean with fast, executing play. I mean, be on your toes, be skating. Show them exactly when you're at your A game what you can do. Plant that seed of doubt early and run with it. Run with it in the game. And say, yeah, I know our backs are against the wall, but we're a good team too. Don't ever lose that belief they're a good team. But I agree with both you guys. We haven't seen that in this series. And I think they've allowed that play of Florida to kind of dictate how they play the game a little too much. And like I said, our coverage was great on picking out a lot of points. And one of the other things that I've seen is they continually want to go to the pressure. They want to go to where the traffic is. And right now, Florida's coming up with those loose pucks. That's not where you want to go. So I don't know if it's a lower swing, if it's speed. I'd like to see the D get their feet moving a little bit instead of hanging back and always trying to pass through. It's okay to rush the puck up the ice every once in a while. There's some really good skating defensemen on Edmonton. Start to get going. If you beat your first guy, get your legs moving and get forward. Make someone else have to come to you. And then now it's two guys potentially you beat with one person. All these little things that add up. And it's just systematically going down the list. Be on your toes, be ready. Everybody on that bench should be excited and ready to go for this game. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to win one hockey game and have a chance again to win a Stanley Cup. So put that in your mind for a second. That should be what everybody's thinking about. One win allows you the opportunity to win the Stanley Cup after that with one more win. So that's what's on the table here. I don't think it's going to be hard for any of these players to get motivated and excited for this game. I think they've fallen short in a couple opportunities in this series. I think you got to credit Florida for being that kind of suffocating system that just takes that away from you. Don't let them. Go play harder than they are and win a game.
Yeah, I like that. And just to your point as well, getting the deactivated. This is an Oilers team that doesn't love dumping in the puck. They're at their best, as we've seen over the last two playoffs, when they're holding on to it, like you said, in cycling. I think we probably see John Klingberg back in for Troy Stecher as well. One, there seems to be a low level of trust in Troy Stecher. And two, if you want a guy who's not just going to dump pucks in and throw pucks away, for better or for worse sometimes, John Klingberg's going to do that.
I agree. Makes that first pass great. And when he's moving his feet also, he's had a little bit of rest too. He's not a spring chicken anymore, so he gets a little rest. He'll have a little bit of energy and ready to go. Emotionally and mentally reset as well. But yeah, I agree. Like, listen, if you have the speed, attack, and numbers, if you don't, everybody needs to know what's going in. It can't be I'm deciding late here to chip this puck into the zone, or I'm deciding at the line here to dump this puck in behind. Bobrovsky's pretty good at coming out and playing it. You've got defensemen that are having a pretty easy time out of the zone. You have to all be on the page that when that puck goes in, everybody knows what their assignment is. Take it away from them. They've taken it away from Edmonton. It's amazing how many times that puck in full possession for Edmonton in this series is turned over. It's incredible. It's not good. And they just need to be cleaner out of their zone. Easier said than done, but this is the Stanley Cup playoffs and it's the final. And you're down to the final two games potentially. In the final game, if you don't win this one, execute. Tape to tape, demand pucks, let people see you want it, put it on the tape, and that's hockey 101. Right now, it just seems like there's no real plan coming out of the zone. They get the puck and it's like, getting closed off. We're going to put it up the wall to a mosh pit of people that it's not going anywhere. It's just not going anywhere. You're putting those wingers in tough situations. I think they need to make better plays out of their zone. Forwards need to have support. Forwards need to be in those areas and punch to the holes. And be connected coming up the ice. Simple as that. Be connected. They haven't done it for a bit. When they do it, though, they've proven they can take over periods of this series. Not as many as people, and obviously I'd like to see so far, but when they do it, they can certainly put Florida on their heels. They haven't done it enough, especially in the last three games.
All right, I'm feeling better now. This was good.
Yeah,
this worked. This worked. All right, Louis, as always, appreciate your time. Thanks for
One
doing
game.
this. And I mean, it's crazy to say this, but like if we don't have you on again, obviously till next Monday, the Stanley Cup's going to be handed out by the next time you're on this show. So that is that's nerve-wracking.
Hopefully, boys, we're smiles and we're laughing and we're talking about a great run for the Edmonton Oilers finishing it off. And it's completely within their grasp to do it. I know it looks dire, but it's one game. It's one game again to tie it, which they've done already in this series. It's one game to tie it in that building and bring it home one more time.
All right, Louis, appreciate it. Thank you.
See you later.
All right, guys. Take care.
There you go. Louis DeBrusk, brought to you by Litco Law, also brought to you by Tourism Jasper. This summer, find your happy place in Jasper. From hiking trails, paddling wild waters, or sharing laughs by the fire, happiness finds you here. Jasper is open, vibrant, and ready to welcome you back for more unforgettable moments. So drive over, soak up the fresh air, enjoy some food and drink, because your best summer memories aren't behind you. They're waiting for you this summer in Jasper. Plan your trip at jasper.travel/summer. I liked a lot of what Louis had to say.
Yeah.
That third
Cup's coming home, baby.
I'm not great at the whole like breaking down the style and the film like the way a Bruce Kurlock does, for example.
Yeah.
The F3 on the Oilers, that's something Bruce has kind of taught me is like a really important part. Like, remember when we had the segment about they love bringing the third forward high in the O zone and then kind of like attacking downhill, right? Or at least that's how I view it. But like that third forward comes high and they create mismatches, and that's how they generate offense. They were not doing enough of that because that's part two of something. Part one is getting the puck set up in the O zone. Then you can get to your system. And they just weren't doing that enough. To do that, you need to win board battles. You need to cleanly get across the blue line. Like, none of that was happening. It was just so much. They're gassed. They dump it in. They go for a change. Florida gets to come back the other way. And then the other part of it, too, is off the rush. Again, that third forward being high is what's going to prevent rush chances against. We talked about the one goal where Perry floats back. That's not F3 playing right. If you're going to, again, break up cycles at one end, that involves F3. Everywhere you go, it's that third forward, that centerman, whoever it ends up being. It's so important. It's very frustrating to kind of see that go away, considering it was such a driving force for them working through Vegas and Dallas as fast as they did.
I think it's interesting, too, that a veteran team would sway away from it so much. Like, this is a team that has been to the Cup Final, obviously now second year in a row, against the same opponent. So you would hope they would be able to kind of maintain their structure and show a bit more direction in their game. But it just seems like when they lose, they fall off a cliff.
Yep.
Besides game two. That was, well, is what it is. Game two was whatever. But the other two games, it's like they just completely have no identity to themselves. And it comes down to stuff like you were saying, too. And I thought something that Louis said was interesting, like the Bobrovsky stuff. Like, game three, I think the whole series, I don't think he's been a huge factor. And I don't mean that to say that Bobrovsky's not playing well, because he is 100% the best goalie in this series.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that close. But I also don't think he's stole a game for Florida, per se. I think the Oilers have just played so poorly in the games that they've lost that the goalie's not even become that big of a factor. Like, you even look back to last game, they hit 3 posts? They scored twice. You know? Like, you beat him 5 times, if you want to put it that way, in a way. So, to me, what I'm trying to say is, like, the Oilers are literally screwing themselves. They're not getting outdueled by a potential Hall of Famer. They're getting outdueled by literally their own players not showing up.
Yeah. There's another one here. Tanner, and I like this point. He goes, Perry isn't your traditional F3, though. That's why he's not playing the situation correctly. Yeah, totally. And like the mistake there is Jake Wallman not putting it deep and throwing a shitburger to Bouch, and then Bouchard going 50-50 for a puck that you either need to retreat or go all the way through and take your man on. Like, you need to run and get body or get puck on that. So, yeah. Someone is talking about my legs in the chat.
Oh, give it up.
Calm down.
It's a family show.
Yeah.
They got scrapes all over him.
I know.
That guy's an athlete. That guy's an athlete.
That was way worse before I left to Florida, and then it got sunburnt. So now it's all peely. So there you go. You wanted me to talk about my legs? Don't think? Yeah, see, look at that.
Get a look at him.
Ouch. It's going to be a big scar. Let's keep cruising along with the show. Actually, before we do that, because I want to get to one big take, Chris Johnston had this. Asked how much pressure he feels to win the Stanley Cup as the game's best player, Connor McDavid said, quote, "That's a pretty heavy question." And then he added, quote, "If you think about it that way, you'd probably be pretty crippled." If that's his answer,
interesting.
I think that tells you it's probably in his psyche a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little. How can it not be?
How can it not be?
Yeah.
That is, and it does feel like, especially going back to Game 7 last year, McDavid wasn't loose and flowy in Game 7. Last night, McDavid was not loose and flowy and going around it. I'm not going to ever sit here and say the pressure gets to Connor McDavid. I think there's more pressure on him than there's been on... Ovi had a lot. Ovi had a lot at that point because we were getting, again, we were back 5-10, or we're in the back half of Ovi's career, and I get we're still kind of in the middle of Connor's, but like, I don't think Sid was facing this kind of pressure early.
think maybe in his second cup.
But even then, it was like year 5 in the league, right?
He was still very young.
Yeah, he was still very, very young.
That's true.
And I do think Connor is definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, I could see Connor going like, I have to win this one. Like, I only get, this is year 10. Like, if I was Connor McDavid, I'd be sitting there being like, man, I only get 10 more cracks at this thing. And it's so hard to get just to this stage. And like, I can't let this one slip. And like, I think he wears a lot of it. And I think you see it when Draisaitl scored that OT winner. What was McDavid's reaction on the bench?
I didn't get, what was it? It
Game
wasn't
4.
that crazy.
He literally just stood up and was like, okay.
Yeah.
It looked more like relief than it did Connor McDavid being like we won. It was more of like, thank God we didn't lose that.
Not like game 1.
Wasn't like game 1.
Maybe it's because he was on the ice too.
Maybe,
like a bit of a moment. I think pressure's okay though. Like if you don't feel the pressure, then you're crazy. Like how can you not be in this moment? And I would argue too, like on the other side, those guys have pressure as well to go out there and win this game and not force it back to Edmonton. Because that last season, you lose game 6, at least you get to go home. Now if you lose game 6, you have to come back to Edmonton. I know you've won 2 games there, but there's still the pressure of you going on the road to win a Stanley Cup in one of the best playoff atmospheres ever. I think it goes both ways, but I think you're right. McDavid's right, sorry. It's a heavy question. It was also, did you see what from James Duffy?
Yeah, you can read that one.
Yeah, okay. Let me find it quickly. But basically what he was saying was, here, I got it right now. You pulling it up, Aaron, too? Okay, I got it. He said multiple people who are involved are close to hear it all say this is the nastiest trash-talking Stanley Cup Final they've ever seen. Usually some subjects are off limits. Not here. Everything on the table. Pure verbal hate. I wonder if that's also playing into the minds of the others too. Because I do think they've been pushed to the brink a little bit in the sense of like, they're a physical team and they can play nasty and they'll let you know when they're coming in for checks. But also, too, I've never known them to be like a big, like, verbal team. It doesn't seem like it, you know what I mean?
I think a lot of this is just Tkachuk and Kane, probably.
Probably. Yep. I think Wallman as well is well.
But I'm just saying, like, there are some very low-hanging chirps you can throw at Evander Kane.
I think we all know what those chirps are being said.
Yeah, and I think you can point to a couple of guys on Florida and find some pretty low-hanging chirps towards them.
That's
so
fair. Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, it's interesting. It's I'd love to say it's been a fantastic cup final, but I've also hated 3 of the 5 games so far.
The 3 the Oilers lost.
Yeah, so I will refuse to take a neutral approach on this. I'm having a bad time.
Yep.
Ask me on Wednesday how I'm doing, and I'll let you know.
Fair.
I also saw this, so I'll cover for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Vander Kane, this was before Game 5. He said, I think they maybe get a little too much credit for how crazy they drive teams. I was like, Kaner, shut up. You're the guy that they're driving nuts. Did we all watch
90
Game
minor
3?
penalties.
I think we all had eyes, brother.
All right, I want to get to one big take. It's going to be brought to you by our friends at Budweiser. Budweiser has been brewed in Edmonton for 45 years, and by partnering with Mark Messier, a proud Edmontonian, on this limited edition can, the brand is set out to ignite the City of Champions spirit. During the brewing process, Budweiser even brought one of the original City of Champions signs into the brewery. I don't know if you saw. I was trying to get the good vibes going, the City of Champions vibes, so I wore my City of Champions hoodie to the game the other day. I thought it could, really bring out the good juju a little bit here. Obviously, they lost the game, but the City of Champions spirit does not get phased by being down 3-2 in the Stanley Cup Final. Shout out to our friends at Budweiser, and that's exactly where I'm going with my one big take.
Okay.
Momentum, like this series, is another beautiful, beautiful example of it. Momentum does not carry over. Yes. Edmonton wins game 1 in overtime, and you're thinking, oh man, they got game 2. Like Florida just blew that opportunity to get up 1-0 and steal home ice. Edmonton's not letting this slip. What happens? Florida plays a great game. They win. It's 1-1. And then you have Florida just lay the boots to them in game 3 of this series. And it's like, oh my God, that was not the close hockey game we got in game 2. And you're thinking this thing might be over. Florida might blow them out. And then Edmonton wins an absolute thriller in game 4. And you're thinking, wow, you're coming back to Edmonton with the crowd being as loud as it is. There's no way Edmonton doesn't put out their best effort. And they don't. It's not made sense at any turn here. It really, outside of Edmonton winning game 1 on home ice, nothing's been predictable in this series.
No, you're right. Every game is kind of in its own different story.
So in that sense, would you be the least bit surprised if game 6 is like a dominant Oilers performance? It makes no sense. There's not a lot of logic there. The only logic is that nothing else has really followed any sort of logic.
I'm literally betting on that. So, yeah.
The other, I think the last time the Oilers were in this spot, if I'm not mistaken, would have been Vancouver last season.
Yeah.
So they lose in game 5. Calvin Pickard started that game, by the
Yeah.
way. Heartbreaking goal towards the end of the game from JT Miller, I believe.
Yep.
And then Edmonton came back home. That's the only difference between this and Tuesday's game. And they smoked them. Van de Kane got the halfway there goal, living on a prayer goal, I guess you could say.
That was crazy.
And then again, they come back and in Florida the next year, go down there and they do the job. So, look, like, I understand why, and I am disappointed. You can obviously feel the disappointment in Tyler as well, but like, there is a lot of reasons to be optimistic that this can go their way still. And I'm not even looking at Game 7 yet. I just need him to win tomorrow.
Yeah, just win tomorrow.
And then we can get to Game 7 and we can talk about that then. But tomorrow's the day. You have to show up. Everyone has to show up. And they obviously know that. And I think they will. The Florida is going to... It's going to take a lot for the Oilers to lose that game, I think. Because they have no choice. And they have to play well. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, then, hey, we're going to have some big discussions.
Yeah. We got a comment in here from Louis who says, I'm begging you to realize nobody believes in momentum game to game. Buddy, be in our YouTube chat. If you don't think these fan bases are believing in momentum from game to game, it's not a cheap media thing. Like,
it's real life. Buddy.
Again, we're living the series out day to day. How you feel about the series changes after every single game. So, yeah, I don't know.
I was in the building for Game 4.
Yeah.
I thought the Oilers were never going to lose another game, ever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they felt the same way. And then, you come into this, and all of a sudden, Brad Marchand decides to turn back the clock 10 years, become prime Brad Marchand again. I said earlier this season I would not take Brad Marchand on this team. And I am regretting that badly.
You know what, Liam? You finally swung and missed on one.
I said that was purely based off his skating after what we saw at the Four Nations.
Yeah.
This guy is rejuvenated. It is incredible to see what he is doing right now. Same with Corey Perry. It's nuts that guy, Marchand and Corey Perry have combined for 20 goals this postseason. They have a combined age of 67. That's wrong.
77.
Damn.
That's old.
That is damn they old.
Yeah.
Who's the third oldest player in this series?
Ekholm?
Maybe Ekholm? Maybe the worst player the other day?
It honestly might be Matthias Ekholm.
Ekholm. How old's Kulikov?
You ever just think, no, I'm not saying it.
No, I don't think.
Okay, I'll say it, but I'm not saying it.
Okay.
Would the Oilers have been better off if Ekholm just never returned?
I've been saying it. I said it on pregame.
I will say going into Game 4, I felt that way. However, after watching Troy Stetcher play those 2 games, I'm going to turn back and be like, no, I think they do need him back.
That's fair.
Because Stetcher just couldn't handle it.
But they had the 3 parents rolling for the first 3 rounds.
It was
Everybody was set with their partners.
And maybe that's what knocked it out of rhythm. But
third oldest player in the series?
Bobrovsky?
Bob.
Yeah.
And then you have he's 36, then you have 2 35-year-olds in Ekholm and Henrique.
Ty, our guest just popped up, but I have 2 big takes. One is I see some negativity in the chat, and I did on ONAD. What is our slogan here? It's 4 words at Oilers Nation.
Hope will never die.
Thank you very much. I also, remember when the Leafs got smoked in Game 5 at home against the Panthers?
Yep.
I went on a rant about how Nick Alberga and the Leafs fans are already writing their team off. It disgusts me that I'm seeing some of that same energy in the chat and online. If I told you preseason the Oilers were down 3-2 in the Cup Final, need to win 2 must-wins, you would said, Bordsy, deal, I will take that. Hope will never die. And then the other one, it's very much so that the Oilers, and they've been consistent, like Nuge has been saying it, we got to play with speed, we have to carry pucks in, way too much dump and chase in the last hockey game. But I did see Mulick say it, and no one's going to like to hear it. As much as we want the Oilers to play better and stuff, Florida Panthers are a really good hockey team, and they are stopping them from carrying these pucks in. I think the Oilers know they need to play with speed, but damn it, that other team over there is pretty good.
Yeah.
Strong disagree. They suck. Go Oilers, go.
You know what? Yeah. I only had one take.
So, again, when you start doing the whole, this is what momentum or this is what the storyline would dictate, go back to last year's Cup Final. Edmonton's down 3-0 in that series. Them winning to make it 3-1 and be like, hey, we're not handing the cup out in our building. Florida takes their eye off the ball. That was, predictable. But then everyone and their dog was like, Florida's ending this thing on home ice. Florida just got smoked. They'll die, and then Edmonton wins. And then it was also very predictable that Edmonton won Game 6, dragging back to Alberta, you do it. And then going into Game 7, again, everyone was sitting there being like, this is Edmonton's to lose.
Yeah.
No one was like, oh, Florida will flip the switch. And like Florida did. They flipped a switch. Bob played better, all of that. Even go back to that Leafs-Panther series, right? Mm-hmm. Toronto gets smoked in Game 5. They have to go to Florida in Game 6.
And they smoked them.
And they smoked them.
Florida also kind of suck on home ice. I believe they are now 5-4.
Decent point.
However, great on the road. Not ideal.
Let's get out to our guest line. Brought to you by Star Mechanical. It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. They've been in the Edmonton area. They've started in the Edmonton area. They've been in here for 25 years, whether it's residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency service. They do it all, and they do it well. As we get to hockey historian Mike Commito, making his Oilers Nation Everyday debut in the middle of the Stanley Cup Final. That's a lot of pressure, Mike.
Yeah, no kidding. What a time to join.
So we were talking yesterday, and you reached out. So you are not obviously like an Oilers fan, whatever, but for this playoff run, you're in a unique spot where you're in a big hockey pool. Your roster is now just nothing but Oilers. It's 16 guys. So you are fully on this Edmonton Oilers bandwagon, and you are living the stress with us game in and game out. What have you learned about this Oilers team through becoming or hopping on the bandwagon, I should say?
Well, I've learned just how invested I am in this team. I'm in this pool and I'm competing against my father-in-law who has 4 Panthers remaining. I made the mistake of trying to watch a game with him, and it was horrifying. I've never wanted to raise violence against my father-in-law, but watching him cheer for the Panthers it's tough. So I watch the games alone. My wife sees me in the basement. I'm usually standing and watching them. It really is unique because, like, I am a Leafs fan. I make no secret of that. So for me, I've never been this invested in a team in my life. And I mean, you can insert the joke here that the Leafs have never made it this far. So of course, I've never been invested in this team because since I was a kid, the farthest I've seen them go was the conference finals. But it's just like every night that you think some of those nights. I think what I've learned is the hope will never die because that 2 games ago when my wife went out for a walk, they were down 3-0, and she's like, "Oh, this is not great." And then you're about to turn off the TV, and you're like, "I just got to keep watching. I can't stop. They're going to find a way to do this." And that night they did, right? So they always find a way to pull you back in, and I think that's been the most interesting and I think most nerve-wracking part for me as a quote-unquote Oilers fan. For this run for sure.
Well, and that's exactly why, like, if there's any reason to be blindly confident in them going into Game 6, it's like, oh, they're not just going to go out with a whimper. They will drag you back in. And like, as knock on wood, whatever, if the Oilers are going to break your heart, they're going to do it in the most painful way possible. Like, they are not losing Game 6 in Florida.
Yeah. It really is just like one of these, I really do think that I'm at a point where, I want Edmonton to win regardless of where I am in this pool. Like, I think just obviously for the storylines with McDavid and Draisaitl to have those guys finally win a cup. We've obviously got some local connections too. McDavid's wife and Draisaitl's fiance, they're both from Sudbury. So we do have a Sudbury connection with the Oilers. I've got a Wayne Gretzky picture in my office in Oilers gear. So, I mean, I'm all in for that. But certainly it's just, I'd really like to see it. I mean, this pool for me is obviously, I want the bragging rights. After it's over, I'll go back to cheering for, my horrible Maple Leafs. But for now, to have, to win the pool and have Edmonton win would just be the icing on the cake. Certainly the money is great and the bragging rights is great. But I'm pulling for Edmonton. I want to see it happen. It would be a really great storyline for them to kind of join, hockey history with that revenge cup. This year after losing the first match last year.
I obviously do not see this final from a neutral perspective. For me, I said earlier on the show, 2 of the games have been awesome. The other 3 have been the worst I've ever seen. But as a hockey historian, how would you rank the Stanley Cup Final so far compared to, let's say, the last 20 years or so? Where does it kind of go in there for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think, been one of the most electric finals I think we've seen. I think certainly after the first 2 games, they both go to overtime. You're thinking, it's going to be tight like this, and you're kind of thinking of like the 2013 Boston Blackhawks final, right? And that series, there are 3 overtime games. The other 3 games, it doesn't go the full distance, but the other 3 games, they're being decided by 1 or 2 goals at the absolute most. Obviously, this series has opened up, quite a bit more with some of the games that we've seen since then. But I think with all, some of the additional storylines, I think just some of the excitement between the 2 teams, like it's very reminiscent of, 2011, with Boston and Vancouver. Obviously, I think we'd like to see it, echo that 2008, 2009 rematch between, the Red Wings and the Penguins. We hope that, I think this year they're able to kind of etch their names in and get that rematch. But I think it's certainly, it's up there. I think anytime you could see, players of this caliber, especially Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, do their thing in a cup final, it's going to be one for the ages. I think ultimately where it plays out, I think tomorrow night is going to be huge for that. I think what we're kind of all hoping for is one of those big, statement legacy games, for McDavid. Obviously, I think he's done, he has a legacy. It's already there, but I think to really put a stamp on it, I would love to see him just go off tomorrow night, especially as the guy who holds Connor McDavid in his playoff pool and is just really invested in Connor McDavid like he's never been invested before. I'm hoping we see that. I think everyone's probably been talking about how, he's due. He's certainly due to come alive. And I think, Tyler, to your point, it'll probably be on Tuesday just to bring the ultimate, potential pain if it gets to game 7, but I'm thinking tomorrow we're going to see something really fun and exciting that'll really kind of bring this to a storybook ending.
Yeah, and I made this comment earlier to Louie, and the listeners know it's a line I go to all the time, but I'm the idiot who walks up to the roulette table. If it's been 8 straight blacks, I walk up and I'm like, hell yeah, $100 on red because it's due. And I fully understand that's not how life or gambling or probability works. But I also sit here and go, the Oilers haven't played A+ level game yet in this Stanley Cup Final. Connor McDavid hasn't had his A+ level yet in this Stanley Cup Final, and it's been 5 games. At some point, Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, I think, are due to play a game like they did against Vegas for 4 of those 5, or play like they did against Dallas, where we saw them for 2 playoff rounds absolutely take over and just dominate teams thoroughly. And you can also kind of look to Florida, Mike, and maybe this is where we'll go a little bit to your Leafs experience. Last year's Cup Final, this year Game 6 on home ice against the Leafs. They're a team that sometimes they do take their eye off the ball a little bit.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, they're with their backs against the wall, right? This is really, you've got nothing to lose. This is it's win this and go back to Edmonton, or you're done for the year, right? And I think you kind of saw a little bit of that last year, going down 3-0, and then they get that 8-1 game, and obviously that kind of turns the tide and run the table to get back to Game 7. So I think you maybe need a little bit of that pressure. Ultimately, you got to get through that game, then you got to get to Game 7. But I think certainly it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially with this team, what it's been able to do. And I think to your point, the fact that we haven't really seen, that A+ dominant game that I think we're all looking for, right? I think even the last game, I'm not the type of guy that's screaming shoot at the TV whenever somebody has the puck, but there were so many, they didn't really get them in the slot, and there's so many times where you see McDavid, you just want him to be a little bit more selfish, where he's trying to pass it off. And again, maybe he didn't have the look that he wanted, and certainly he would know better than I would as the best player in the world. But there were so many times you just want him to shoot it, right? And whether or not it goes in, it's going to create chaos and havoc in front of the net. So again, we want to see him get a little bit more selfish, because I think certainly, he's got the ability to just break that game wide open, and that's something we all want to see Tuesday night for sure.
Brad Marchand, all of a sudden, rolled back the years and has become the best player in the series. Excuse me. Where do you think he ranks amongst some of the best trade deadline ads of recent memory? Because he's got to be right up at the top, you'd think.
Yeah, and I just got to say quickly that so my father-in-law has Brad Marchand in his team. So every time he scores, I hate Brad Marchand obviously because I cheer for the Leafs, so he's terrorized my team, as a Bruin, as a Panther now, and then now he's terrorizing my fantasy team. He's great, but certainly it's hurting me a lot to see what he's doing, because as a historian, I appreciate what he's done. I think ultimately, when you think of trade deadline acquisitions that have worked out really well, for their teams going to the Cup Final, the one that I think of most recently in recent memory is probably Marian Gaborik. What he did for the Kings in 2014, was incredible. The Kings were an anemic team in the regular season, 26th most goals for. like they're not filling the back of the net. And then in the playoffs, obviously, Gabrick goes off. He gets 14 goals, 22 points, most goals in the playoffs that year. The Kings lead goals for in the playoffs with 88, which is crazy because 88 is 44% of what they scored in the entire regular season. So, but they did that, in 26 games. So you think of somebody like that where that team needed scoring and he was able to provide that. Marchand's certainly been the spark plug, but I think of other, if you want to get more historical, like Butch Goring in 1980 with the Islanders, like that was obviously a missing piece that they needed. They go on 4 runs. Ron Francis with the Penguins in 1991, then certainly that deal from Hartford that brought Ronnie Franchise to the Penguins also included Ulf Samuelsson. And we know how that went. They got back to back with those guys. So I mean, he's certainly made a case for himself among some of those great deadline acquisitions. That if he keeps going, and he's already got 6 goals in the Cup final, and we'd like to see him stop at 6. I think that would be great. He'll still cement himself as a great deadline acquisition, but it's possible he could do more just to add to that resume. And then we'll be talking about him among the greats of Ron Francis, Butch Goring, Marian Gaborik. It's quite the run that he's had, and certainly been, I think, adding dollars, to his upcoming contract every time he gets on the ice.
Yeah, the other one too. Like, I mean, if Florida doesn't win, then you don't view it differently. But historically, you're not like pointing back to a Panthers Cup being like, man, Brad Marchand was one of, if not the biggest reason they won that. Yeah. I think about, like, you just listed all those, and this is biased. This is Edmonton, but like no, not David Desharnais.
Oh, okay.
Dwayne Rollison in 06, right? Like, if he doesn't get hurt and the Oilers win that cup, Dwayne Rollison's probably considered the best trade deadline ad of all time. But like, whoever gets the ring, whoever lifts Stanley at the end, like, that's who we remember. This Brad Marchand thing, It's not all for naught because they got here and they went on a run, but it's viewed very differently historically if Edmonton comes back and wins this series.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, to your point, exactly. Like, you forget about those acquisitions that didn't quite work out, right? And there's still great moves, and credit to the GMs that make those moves. But yeah, unless you're hoisting that cup at the end of that, it does kind of get lost in, in the footnotes of history of a great move that just didn't work out exactly the way that you hoped it would.
Yeah. Mike, appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun. We'll do it again. Maybe even over the summer, we'll do some historical look back stuff, but hopefully for your sake and for our sake, you win that hockey pool and we're doing a show on Sunday in front of a parade in Edmonton. That'd be great.
That's what I'm hoping for. Again, pool would be great, but I think, I'm here. I'm part of Oilers Nation for at least another week. So let's go. Let's get it. Bring it back to Edmonton.
One of the best follows on Twitter, Mike Commito. We'll throw a link to his Twitter in our YouTube chat as well, so people can give him a follow. Thanks for doing this, Mike.
See you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. A Leafs fan rooting on the Oilers. You know who loves to hear that, Liam?
Who?
Our friends at Boston Pizza. It's been 32 years since a Canadian team has won a Stanley Cup, and this year Boston Pizza wants Canada to bring it home. Mike wants it to happen. I know there are other Leafs fans, Canucks fans, whatever, fans of any team, coast to coast. They want to see Edmonton get it done. 2 wins away. I'm not viewing it as you're 1 loss away from bowing out again. You are 2 wins away from winning it all. Shout out to Mike for joining us. Shout out to Louie as well. A couple of great guests today for our friends at Star Mechanical and Boston Pizza. Whew.
You're telling me.
Do you feel, compared to how you felt to start today's show, do you feel better or worse? I feel way more nervous.
I feel much better.
I feel more nervous. I'm just like, man, I hadn't thought about it a lot yesterday. Now I'm a mess.
No, I feel fine because I know on Tuesday I'll be ready.
Okay.
I'll have my bananas supplied. I'll put on my Game 7 gear despite it being a Game 6.
Gotta play like it's a Game 7, though.
I'll wear my Hope I'll Never Die t-shirt.
Heck yeah.
And I'll put on my 2017 Leon Draisaitl jersey, which has only suffered 2 losses this playoffs. Come on.
Me and my buddy Connor, Oilers are 5-0 these playoffs when we watch together.
Oh, wow.
You better be attached at the hip then, boys.
Yeah.
Why isn't he here right now?
Yeah, where is he?
There's been a couple of games where like we were supposed to watch them together, and then something happened. So like game 2 of this cup final, him and I had plans. We're driving to Greta. We're watching the game together. And then I get credentialed, so I got to go in the press box. We watch separate. They lose. And there was another one that was game... the Leon Draisaitl one against Vegas when he scored on himself. Him and I went to Greta. On our way to Greta, I get a call being like, hey, man, I can get you a ticket tonight. So I went and sat loge. Connor and I separated at the last second. Oilers lose.
So if we get to game 7,
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
you got to get him a press pass somehow, somewhere. Sorry, Pat.
Yeah. Connor Nickel, you are Pat Puff. But, they're 5-0 when we watch together.
Well, you know what you have to do.
Gotta, yep. Get
Oh,
ready,
no.
Con.
You know, if you get yelled at for game 7, I'll take the hit for you.
Yeah.
I'll stand in front.
Like that meme.
I got me in there.
Okay. Do we want to do a real quick what's trending?
Sure,
There's
because
a lot trending.
there was quite a bit to talk about.
Yeah.
Who's this for?
This one is going to be for the Alberta Teachers Association. Liam.
Oh, yeah. We're striking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wow. The Alberta Teachers Association. Did you know that Alberta spends the least per student on public education in Canada, leaving schools underfunded and in crisis? Overcrowded classrooms, unmet student needs, and dwindling supports are driving record number of teachers to leave the profession. This chronic underfunding has left schools in crisis. As proud Albertans, we can't stand by while our government policies continue to neglect education. Want to make a difference for Albertans everywhere? Demand answers from your local MLA. Our kids deserve better. It's time to stop the excuses. For more information, visit stoptheexcuses.ca.
I want to add a quote from a teacher, my brother. Teachers' working conditions are your child's learning conditions.
It's a bar.
Truer words never been spoken. That's a bar. Liam, we stand with the teachers.
I stand with one every day.
Oh, your fiance.
You're in school?
Yep. The first 6 players for all the Olympic teams have been named.
Yeah.
2 Oilers.
2 Oilers, Draisaitl and McDavid.
What?
No surprise.
No.
Do you know, there was a couple of surprises, though.
Gabe Landeskog has
I
played.
was thinking people off the list. But
Oh.
I didn't even see the Swedish one. I
Yeah,
just see
Gabe
on the list.
Landeskog's on the list for Team Sweden.
Well, that makes no sense.
He's played 5 games in the last 3 years.
Who would have gone instead?
Paterka?
Paterka was German.
Well, that's what I was
Oh, he's
thinking.
German.
JJ Paterka
and he's
is
off
there,
the German one,
That's
too.
what it was that got me
The
confused.
crazy one that got me is that Thomas Tatar, who is just signed a deal in, I think, Switzerland, is on the list, but Thomas Hurdle didn't make Czechia.
Really?
Pretty sure.
That's
Pretty
wild.
sure that happened.
It's Czechia.
Yeah, no Thomas Hurdle.
Yeah,
and
wow.
Thomas Tatar, obviously Slovakian. I know I got those mixed up.
Yeah, yeah.
Formerly,
But like
one.
Palat over Hurdle? Huh?
Yeah, like that is nuts.
Gudis?
Radical Gudis, holy moly. But yeah, it's exciting to see these teams now all involved in it a little bit too. Finland, no surprise, just the Dallas Stars. What, Latvia? Do we have Latvia?
Yeah, here, I'll go through them all here.
All right, let's
Slovakia.
see. Slovakia, Martin Pospisil, Juraj Slavkovsky, Thomas Tatar, Simon Nemec, Martin Ferovy,
Federavari.
Federavari, Eric Chernak. Germany, Leon Draisaitl, Lucas Reichel, Nico Sturm, Tim Stutzler, Moritz Seider, Philippe Grubauer.
Anytime you have a chance to jump on naming the worst goalie in North America,
Yeah, you
do
have
it.
to take it.
You gotta
You got to do it.
Nico Sturm also playing for the Florida Panthers right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Playing is a loose way to describe
And
it.
JJ Paterka did not make the team.
Yeah, that's
Switzerland, Fiala, Heiskanen, Nico Hischer, Heiskanen, Finnish, Timo Meyer, Nino Niederreiter, Jonas Siegenthaler, Roman Josi.
All right.
Denmark,
Oh, we're doing all of them.
Oliver Björkstrand, Nikolai Ehlers, Lars Eller, Jonas Rodjurger,
Ronberg.
Romberg, Jesper Jensen Abo, Frederick Anderson,
And then finally, Team Latvia.
Oh, yeah. Now this segment's
There
going
we
to
go.
get good, Liam.
Teddy Bluger,
There you go.
1 for 1.
Rodrigo Abals, my friend Zemgus Gergensen, Uvis Balinskis,
Nailed it. You're 3 for 4.
Elvis 3 for 4, Elvis Merzlikins, Arthurs Zilovs.
That was actually really good, buddy.
you.
Why did they need to? I mean, I don't
We're
know.
even in Canada.
Yeah. Canada is
It's the same, just no Brad Marchand. and
Mitch
Ryan.
Marner, Morgan Riley, John Tavares. Oh, no. It's Connor McDavid, Sam Reinhart, Nathan McKinnon, Braden Point, Cale McCarr, and Sidney Crosby. No surprises there.
So, yeah, the only change from the original 6 Four Nations was Marchand for Reinhardt.
Yep.
USA, who was USA?
Eichel, Quinn Hughes, Austin Matthews, Charlie McAvoy,
I
Brady,
cannot
and Matthew
believe they
Tkachuk.
didn't take Connor Hellebuck. And I know he'll go, but it's crazy that they didn't name him. He just won MVP and the Vesna.
Yeah, you probably could have taken
we're
Hellebuck
good.
over McAvoy and been fine.
Do you think McAvoy was like, hey, we kind of totally screwed you?
Yeah, maybe. U.S. Open. Did you watch the end of it yesterday?
I kind of forgot he was on because it was so,
It was so rain delayed.
bad.
Well,
Dude, watching Tigers 2008 U.S.
Yeah.
Open was arguably better.
during the rain delay.
Maybe one of the worst majors ever, from what I was reading online. I saw a bunch of clips, and
No, I disagree with that. I don't
think
mind
so?
a tournament where birdies are rare.
I was talking to my dad about it, and he kind of had the same thing as you, as he being like, well, it's finally, they made a course, they can't just all dominate. But it's like, as the viewer, I want to see crazy shot after crazy shot. Like,
But you got that, like getting out of the rough and stuff.
I suppose, but like, I just think back to the Masters, and like, Rory's shot on, what was it, 16, where he just like, I don't know, on the green. Like, you get all these crazy shots here and there, and it's just like, this one is just like, they struggled.
They did. I mean, only one player finished under par, is JJ Spawn. And
What
I
a
mean,
season for him.
yeah, great years. Sam Burns was the guy
The guy in the water. There was like he stepped
Yeah.
on it and all
Felt
that.
bad
Yeah.
for him.
And he ended up shooting, I think he was 5 over on the last 4 holes.
Yeah.
And then JJ Spawn goes 4 under on the back and wins it. It was a crazy, crazy swing. It was cool. Baseball stuff. Rafael Devers gets traded out of nowhere.
So tell me about this, because I remember Rafael Devers coming into the league back when the Jays were good, about 10 years ago. And now he's good?
Well, he's a year and a half into a 10-year, $310 million
Whoa.
extension. This is the equivalent of
That's crazy.
what's the hockey?
It'd be like Mitch Marner signing a deal and then get traded immediately, right?
It would be. It's honestly pretty close to like if Leon Draisaitl got traded this summer.
Damn. He's that
Crazy.
good.
He's close to that good.
But
yeah.
also, if we brought in his replacement and kind of, because it's Bregman, third base, and all that. Explain
So
that.
They
'cause
wanted to sign Alex Bregman this winter. Bregman is a better third baseman than Devers,
Right.
but he's not as good of a hitter. The Red Sox went to Devers and said, will you DH this year? Put away your glove. You're not playing third base anymore.
Which is probably better for a player, right?
But Devers was like, no, I'm a third baseman. You paid me to be a third baseman. I'm playing third base.
Okay.
And he like kind of rejected it and was like, I'm not doing that for you guys. I want to play third base. And everyone was like, well, just move Bregman to second. And no, the Red Sox stuck to it, said Bregman's our third baseman. Devers is a DH now. And they told him, put away your glove for the year. Month into the season, they ran into injury issues at first base, and they went to Devers and said, will you learn how to play first base, a position you've never played? And he went like, no,
I'm a third baseman.
I'm a third baseman, and you told me to put my glove away. I'm not going to learn a new position and like embarrass myself and have all these errors and have my stats get he wouldn't do it. So they traded him to the Giants for 4 players.
Didn't they already do this once where they traded their best player
Bookie
to
bets.
a Western Coast team?
Yep.
Yeah. How'd that turn out?
Not
Bets
great.
has 2 rings now?
On the same night that happens, Shohei Ohtani puts his hand up and says, I'm starting next game.
Has he not been pitching?
He hasn't pitched in 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And he was just like, yeah, I'm good. I'll pitch.
Oh, there you go. Against Devers? Are they playing each other?
No,
Oh.
he's going to pitch against the Padres.
That would have been a story.
Speaking of pitching returns, Eric Sabrowski passed his AA rehab assignment with flying colors.
Nice.
2 appearances in AAA, looking good. His last one, he went 1 2/3. His stuff was looking great. He got 3 strikeouts, didn't allow a hit, didn't allow a walk. So Eric Sabrowski, I'll say, I haven't texted him in a bit. I'll say end of the month, he's back in the majors.
Okay, that's great
go.
news. Way to
Speaking
go,
of
Eric.
back, Joey Chestnut's 1 year or his ban from the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Con thing, it's lifted.
It was banned?
He was banned. He didn't
Yeah.
compete last year,
No?
it was awful.
Oh, wow.
but he's back.
Okay, that's big news.
Big news.
So when that's obviously 4th of July.
Yep.
Going back to golf, Rory McIlroy is the
Spaz.
first player named to Team Europe for the Ryder Cup.
Okay.
He was
JJ's
a baby on the weekend.
Yeah, see Wyndham Clark.
He freaked out.
Boy, he might get
All right.
suspended.
Yeah, I got to go do real life. So we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Quickly for our friends at Bet365, an official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs, from money line, game props, player props, totals, futures bets. They have it all at Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary. It must be 19 or older. Download the app and play today. Oilers plus 125 on the money line for Game 6. Big dogs. Big dogs. I'm fine with that. Let me make some money.
Yeah,
That's good.
The whole, Florida's a home team. You have to respect that.
If you think the Oilers are going to win, we'll get into this more tomorrow. What about just betting Leon to win the Conn Smythe at plus 750?
I thought about doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could actually. So the Oilers to come back and win this series are plus 280, which means for the simplicity of the math here, I'll just use $200. Okay, let's say you have $200 that you want to bet on the Oilers coming back to win this. $200 on the Oilers to win will return you $760. You could also just take $100 and put it on Connor, and $100 and put it on Leon. And if Connor wins the Conn Smythe, it's $800. If Leon wins, it's $850. So it could actually be a way to get upwards of $100 more back on your bet by betting Conn Smythe over straight up comeback.
Nice. I've been betting on the Gold Cup, which started this weekend.
How's that going?
I had a big one yesterday. Saudi Arabia over
Is that
Haiti.
soccer? Is that soccer?
Yeah, it's like the Euros for North America.
Okay.
Today I have Jamaica taking down Guatemala. Stay tuned for updates tomorrow.
All right, Mike Commito, Louis DeBrusk, both fantastic today on the show. Tomorrow, Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the program brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant and Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Jay's going to be around. We'll have another guest as well.
Nice.
But giddy up. Tomorrow's a big game day, folks. Rally. Get your rest tonight. Everyone needs to be ready. I'm buzzing. I'm vibrating.
You're ready to go.
Let's go. Thanks to everybody in the YouTube. Great stuff. As always, feels good to be back in Edmonton as well for a show. We will see you all tomorrow, noon Mountain. Enjoy your Monday. Oil up.